Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. If we haven't met yet, my name is Alina, and I am a growth-minded single mom here in Houston, Texas. I'm just finishing up my morning walk, some grounding, some stretching, just priming myself for this blessed day. In today's video, I will be talking to you all about things that I'm doing to invite romantic love into my life as a single mother. Just for a little bit of background, my daughter will be 9 next month, and the entire time that I've been a mother, I have been co-parenting. So that means I've never been married, and in my adult life, I have had one relationship that was significant to me. It went on for about a year, but ultimately that person was clearly not interested in a serious relationship, and so that relationship ended. Being single in my 30s as a single mother has felt frustrating, lonely, and seems like the thing that a lot of people want to remind you about and give you unsolicited advice about. Some people are like, yeah, keep your standards high, and other people say your standards are too high, you're never gonna find a man. I know people are well-intentioned, so some of the advice is actually beneficial and some of it doesn't really resonate with me. But during the season of singleness, as you'll see later, the things that I'm focusing on are things regarding myself. I am working to build myself. I've dedicated myself to building myself today and in the future so that I can attract the best possible partner to live the life that I already have dreamed in my head. Anyway, I hope you guys will find this beneficial while in this together. See you in the next shot. Bye. Hey guys, as I mentioned, I'm going to go through a little presentation to talk about the things that I'm focusing on as a single mother during this season of singleness to invite romantic love into my life. As you can see, my focal points are all directed toward myself, with self-awareness, self-forgiveness, and self-development, because I recognize that the relationship with ourselves sets the tone for every other relationship that we have. And when we love ourselves first, everything else will fall into line. So starting with self-awareness, I have a quote here from Stephen Covey saying that self-awareness involves deep personal honesty. It is our capacity to stand apart from ourselves, examine our thinking, motives, our history, our scripts, actions, our habits, and our tendencies. For me, self-awareness requires truths, frank truths about ourselves that we noticed, like patterns that we have exhibited in the past, and any areas for improvement that we have currently and moving forward in the future. So in the next slide, I listed some truths about myself, and I will highlight the structure of these truths, okay? So my first truth, these truths are patterns, okay? So the first one is I have lost myself in past relationships because I didn't have a life of my own that I was proud of. My second truth is that I have faced low self-confidence around my identity as a single mother because of the shame that I had toward myself. And finally, I have pursued relationships with men who were clearly not invested because I didn't feel worthy of the love that I desired. So these are very vulnerable truths, and there are only three that I listed, but I could probably list, whole lots more. But I want to point out that you'll notice that the truth has the admission followed by the root. So my admission is in the first truth, I've lost myself in past relationships. Okay. So one thing that I was very conscious about was that I didn't want to attach the truth to who I am currently. Like, I didn't want to take possession of the truth, of that truth. I want to acknowledge it and say it in a way that it's detached from myself in a way so that I can make space for forward movement. So instead of saying, I lose myself in relationships, I'm going to say, I have lost myself in past relationships. You see, the difference is that I'm not accepting that this is who I am. I'm identifying it as a pattern and leaving space for my growth moving forward. Okay, so that is the admission. And then the root is after because. So because initiates my root and it makes me do some self-reflection to think like, okay, why have I exhibited this pattern or belief? And in this case, it's because I didn't have a life of my own that I was proud of. Now, this root sets me up for an opportunity to self-reflect and mend something within myself. Okay, so I didn't have a life of my own that I was proud of. So how can I mend this within myself? Well, it's simply to create a life for myself that I am proud of. And the way I started to create a life that I was proud of was with journaling, with prompts like describe in detail your dream life, or describe in detail a day in your dream life. Things like that. That's how I started dreaming about a life that I'm proud of. Later on in this video, I will talk about goal setting. So it's not enough to just dream about a life that would make you proud. It's really important to chase those dreams with action and goals. Okay? So, my next truth is that I have faced low self confidence around my identity as a single mother. And that's because I have had shame toward myself about my identity as a single mother. Considering that I would imagine a lot of my audience or a lot of people who are watching are single mothers because you guys are my target community. I imagine that many of you might have felt the same way, especially when it comes to dating, because I feel like the dating world is very generous in their criticisms towards single mothers. um, so it's easy to have that shame within yourself and like seeing it echoed in the dating market. But for me, the important word here is shame. And if I'm wanting to mend shame within myself, I'm trying to think, okay, what's the opposite of shame? And the opposite of shame is pride, in my opinion. And so that means that in order for me to mend the shame that I have toward myself as a single mother, I need to find a way to be proud of who I am as a single mother. And so you'll notice in my videos where I talk about my goal setting, I always have a category for my motherhood. Just like with all my other goals, I want to build myself up as a mother and I want to see the progress that I have made. So if you go back to videos regarding my weekly goal setting, you'll see my goals around my motherhood. And that's how I build myself up as a mother. Also, it seems here that I could have an opportunity for self-forgiveness in terms of putting myself in situation to become a single mother. And I will talk about self forgiveness shortly. Okay, so the last truth that I have listed is that I've pursued relationships with men who clearly were not invested. For me, a word that sticks out is pursued. In my opinion, as a woman, I should not be pursuing relationships with men. Men, or the man that is interested in me, will pursue a relationship with me. So that's the main thing that I want to a pattern that I want to detach myself from and change moving forward. So why was I pursuing relationships with men who were not invested in me? Clearly, who were sending me clear signs that they were not invested. And what it boils down to is that I didn't feel worthy of the love that I desired. I think also too, in this current dating market, people are not very honest with their words. Like, I've experienced a man will say one thing, but his behaviors will show, like, say the opposite. And that has been confusing for me in the past. But I know that men speak with their actions. So moving forward from past experiences, I judge a man based on his actions, and I like let what he says go in one ear and out the other. Okay, so another word that sticks out to me here in my root, that I didn't feel worthy of the love that I desired, is worthiness. So when I'm, thinking of ways I can mend this within myself, I need to do some reflection on, um, why don't I feel worthy of the love I desire? What would it look like, or how would I appear if I were worthy of the love that I desired? And what is the love that I desire? Okay. So I think, a lack of feeling worthiness probably goes back to the roots in my prior truths, where I was feeling ashamed of my identity as a single mother, and because I had not built a life that I was proud of. So the next thing I'm going to talk about are areas that I can improve upon moving forward. So these are patterns that I have recognized, thought about, and feel confident that I can move forward from. The next are things that I feel like I'm currently working on, and things that I might find to be a bit challenging in a relationship moving forward. Number one, as a single mother who, has to do everything, mostly on my own, or at least that's the way it feels a lot of the time, asking for help, I know, will be something that I have area to improve upon. I have room to improve upon. And asking for help falls under communication. So that means that I have, opportunities to improve upon my communication skills. How I am working to mend this in myself presently, before even getting into a relationship, is reaching out to my community members and asking for help when, it's appropriate. For example, I'm building a real estate investment business, and in order to do that, I need to attend real estate networking events. And sometimes those events fall during the time that I have my daughter, which is like after school or on the weekends. And in those cases, I find that to be a great opportunity to reach out to my community and ask for help. And that I might reach out to one of my child's friends' parents and ask if they would host a play date for a few hours so that I could attend the event. And I have, found that to be a successful, venture, I guess. Okay, my second area for improvement is balancing motherhood with a new relationship. I mean, I just don't have that much experience with this, but right now I have a set routine with my child that feels comfortable to both of us. It allows me to have time to focus on myself, invest in our futures, and be present for my daughter, help her with any schoolwork she has, help build her confidence. We work out together. So sometimes it feels kind of scary to think about, well, gosh, how, where does a romantic partner in fit in my life? And in truth, I think I need a man who's probably quite busy, um, because I'm quite busy. So he'll understand that I'm not available, like at all times. But I would like to intentionally schedule with each other quality time to get to know each other for the purpose of marriage. Okay, so this to me falls under boundaries. And I know that the way for me to balance motherhood with a new relationship will require boundaries within myself. So I'll need to make sure that I know that I still need to prioritize our current routine and also find a way to um, prioritize scheduling with whoever is the person that I'm, working toward a relationship with, and also boundaries, the same boundaries with the other person. Okay, so the last area that I listed that I know I will have opportunities for improvement are in letting go of disappointments and arguments. And this falls under forgiveness. Another thing that feels kind of scary to me as someone who's been single for so long is the idea of sharing my bed, my room, my bedroom with someone every day for the rest of my life. Because, it's like, how do you have a rough day with someone and then want to share a bed with him at the end of the night? I don't know. Let me know what you guys have found works for you. If there's anyone here that is married or has been married, how did you work through that? Because my bed feels like a really personal space. Um, yeah, but anyway, this falls under forgiveness. And the way I'm mending this within myself is to practice self forgiveness, with the intention that the more forthcoming I am with myself in with forgiveness, I will be able to forgive other people more freely, and immediately. All right. On forgiveness, I have a quote here from Bernard Meltzer that says, "When you forgive yourself, you in no way change the past, but you sure do change the future. Self forgiveness is the key to making profound change." So, in this section, I'm going to talk about a prior relationship that I was in. In this relationship, I pursued this man, honestly, and I just wanted the relationship to work so bad. Like I had this relationship in a chokehold. Okay, I would plead with God because I think in my heart I knew that this relationship wasn't for me because the man's actions were showing me that he wasn't like really that interested in having a serious relationship with me. But I would just plead with God, like, please, I want this to work. I need this relationship to work because at the time I thought that this person was the best that I could do. And for me, it was like, I'm already entering the relationship in a state of lack, right? Like I don't have a life of my own that I'm proud of. I'm feeling ashamed that I'm a single mother. And it's like, if I'm able to make this relationship work, then, I can, it proves to me some worthiness within myself. But if this relationship doesn't work, then it confirms that I'm not worthy and it just sends me into a pit of despair. Okay. So that's actually what happened. Like I said, I entered the relationship in a place of lack. And since it didn't work out, it kind of confirmed to me a self belief that I already had that I wasn't worthy of the type of love that I desired. And it left me feeling like a golem. So when we talk about forgiveness, um, self forgiveness, the first step is to imagine the version of you that needs to be forgiven. In this case, for me, it was the version of me who I mean, there's probably two versions, but the one that I focused on was the version of me who, after the relationship, accepted that the ending of this relationship proved that I wasn't worthy. And I mean, after this relationship, I went through a very serious, I dealt with, let's see, during this time, I didn't have any self protocols in place. And therefore, I felt very consumed by depressive feelings. And I gained a lot of weight. I had stopped doing any of the minor self care that I had been doing before. And I just feel like I turned into this creature on the left. And when I think about it, probably there's also room to forgive the person I was prior to the relationship who was seeking validation and seeking self worth through another person. Um, so, yeah, that's something that I would want to do, that I would want to look at in the future. But the first step in forgiving yourself for me was to imagine the version of myself that needed forgiving. And here is what I saw, more or less. I worked with AI to develop these pictures. Okay, so I saw the version of myself that needed to be forgiven. And the second step is to go and meet that version of ourselves. And I want to say that if you are in this process of forgiving yourself and you do actually go meet the version of yourself that needs to be forgiven in the place that they are, this is display of bravery. And if you're at this point, even if you don't know yet what to say to this version of yourself that needs to be forgiven, that you should be very proud of yourself and acknowledge that you're exhibiting great courage. So, after imagining the version of myself that needs to be forgiven, I went to go meet that version of myself where they were, and I needed to speak to this version of myself because ultimately I need to invite them to join me. I need to invite them to leave where they are and join me where I am today so that we can move forward together. Because for me, this process kind of reminds me of Horcruxes. Not exactly, because I know a Horcrux is like an intentional splitting of the soul for the purpose of seeking immortality. In this case, it just feels like um, a piece of my soul was left in a specific, like maybe traumatic moment, and I need to go back and collect it and like bring it back into myself so that I can move forward more whole. So, you probably have pieces of your soul left behind in other traumatic moments. So it's like going back and collecting all those pieces to move forward is an interesting journey. Anyway, so I need to go back and speak to this version of myself. And at the time when I was in this process, self love was a challenging thing for me, which means that it would have been hard to speak to that version of myself lovingly. But I reframed my relationship with that version of myself into a mother daughter type of relationship. So when the version of myself, like the present version of myself, goes to meet that version of myself, I speak to them as though they are my daughter who is going through the same thing. So I would say things like, I know it hurts. I would validate their feelings. And I would let them know that, you know, it's okay that I didn't have the tools to navigate this situation in a way that I would today. But I can forgive myself for that because I didn't know better. And I would invite them to join me in this beautiful life that I have today. And I would tell them about all the things that I'm proud of about myself, all the things that I've built. I would show them all the bricks that I've laid, all the work that I've done. And in my case, that creature you know, was courageous enough to reach out to me and join me and move forward. And in that way, I mended a deep wound within myself. And yeah, it was a very freeing experience. So I'd encourage you guys to think back through your life and find your Horcruxes and start piecing yourself back together. Go back and grab those past versions of yourself, forgive them, speak love and life into them, and let me know if you have any success there. Okay, my final focal point is self development. I have two quotes here, one from Dennis Waitley and one from Ralph Waldo Emerson. That personal development is the belief that you are worth the effort, time, and energy needed to develop yourself. The only person you are destined to become is the person you decide to be. Self development to me feels like a really important part of this process because the more I know myself and the more I know my habits and the more I know where I'm trying to go in life, the easier it will be for me to have discernment when I'm meeting potential life partners. Because it's like, okay, if I know where I'm going, I know that I need a partner who is on that same path as me. And if they're not on that path, then it's so easy for me to say, okay, we're just not a match. All right, so within self development, the first main thing, I touched on it earlier, is setting goals. So once you've created the vision of the life that, you know, of your dream life, it's important to look at the main themes. So for me, when I journal about my dream life, I see myself spending time in the Middle East. I see myself having properties, like international properties. I see myself working in tech. I see myself having a larger family. I see myself being married. I see myself speaking Arabic, Hebrew, Farsi, French. So these are all big goals. Now, what I need to do is reverse engineer those goals into more actionable steps that I can take day by day to reach those goals. So, if, for example, I want to develop technology, catering to the Middle Eastern market, there are a few things that I can do day by day. One, um, work on my Arabic. I can make it a goal to spend at least 5 minutes a day learning Arabic because I know that that's going to be beneficial. That second thing I can do is develop a plan to become proficient in coding, AI, and just different fields in the tech space. So, as you guys have seen, I have completed a data analytics certificate. I don't know if I've showed this, but I have been working on a project to develop a web page, an interactive map for the data published by Arab Barometer. Okay, so yeah, my small goals would be to spend daily time working toward that goal, that project. Another thing that I could be doing is spending time every week just staying up to date on any news happening in the Middle East, in the region. I like to dedicate time on Sundays to just read through the headlines for the prior week just to see what's happening, you know. Okay, and with goals, we I conduct weekly check-ins. Okay, so now I have my big goals. I reverse engineer them into weekly goals, and I typically further reverse engineer that into daily goals. So like during each day, I will look back at my weekly goals and like pick one thing that I can accomplish in that day. And when I'm setting up my weekly goals, I'm typically looking at my big goals to see, okay, how can I break this down into a weekly goal? Anyway, so the weekly check in allows me to go back and see what was I able to accomplish and what do I need to do to move forward. Okay, I'm going to go more in depth about that in the accountability section. But next are protocols, self protocols. Protocols are, to me, my protocols are self care protocols, and they include things like getting in at least 20 minutes of physical activity a day. Lately, I've been having a protocol of either doing a weighted workout or a mobility workout. Another thing is to I eat at least one nutritious meal in a day, to get enough sleep, 7 to 9 hours, take my supplements, and maintain proper hydration. Okay, so it's really important to note that with protocols, I have to keep the bar pretty low, because when I keep the bar low with these protocols, it allows for flexibility, especially as a single mother. There will just be phases in life where, like, if one part of my protocol was that I needed to do like a 2 hour regimen workout or something, if there's a phase in my life where I cannot complete that, if I don't have flexibility within my protocol, it's actually going to work against me. So I need to set up my protocol so that it allows me to build confidence within myself and take care of myself with flexibility. So for your protocols, I would encourage you to think about reasonable things that you can do on a daily basis that are supportive of your physical health, mental health, spiritual health, and your future, perhaps your relationship with your children. Finally, have self accountability. Um, with the weekly check ins, it allows us an opportunity, like I mentioned, to not only sit down and reverse engineer our big goals, but also to see where we are failing and where we are really surpassing our expectations. Accountability is a really important part of self development because it allows you to see all the work that you've accomplished and see the areas where you have to maybe make some changes in order to actually reach your goals. For example, for me, if I went back and did a weekly check in right now, I'll see a few weeks where I have not hit all my goals. And I have to be honest with myself about those things, not beat myself up about it, because it's a waste of time to try to make yourself feel bad about not achieving goals. But I need to do some self reflection to see, like, okay, what's inhibiting me from achieving these goals for the past few weeks, and what can I change moving forward. So I'll definitely go over that when I do my next weekly check-in, hold myself accountable, and we'll see how I forgive myself and what adjustments I make moving forward. Now, this last slide are just some miscellaneous actions I'm taking to invite love into my life as a single mother, starting with setting dating expectations of myself. Um, I know in dating, we definitely need to have expectations of the partner, like, like, I don't know, I feel like expectations is kind of a tough word because I don't know if having expectations of other people is really um, more helpful or harmful in the end. But obviously, we have things that we want in a partner. For me, I want a man who's disciplined, self aware, um, yeah, stuff like that. So I know that in my life, I need to set expectations of myself to attract a mate that will mirror me. So for me, an expectation of myself would be that, I'm not going to um, make it a habit to like get a babysitter so that I can go on dates with someone, because I would rather be spending that time with my child. Another expectation is that I'm not going to put myself in any position where intimacy is, you know, easily accessible. So, like, we need to be in public places. Um, yeah, so those are things that I need to hold myself accountable for in dating. Another action I'm taking is to continue to develop and move toward my life goals. Because like I mentioned, the more I develop my life, my dream life, the easier it will be for me to move forward with discernment and pick a partner who matches the goals that God has put in my heart. Another action that I'm taking is attending events that align with my life goals. I find that even in my 30s, it's like I feel like a lot of people are like, oh, we'll just, go to a bar, or, you know, there's a lot of emphasis on drinking alcohol when it comes to socializing, but that doesn't really align with me because I don't drink alcohol. So instead, I was like, okay, what are things that I do like to do? And those are, I like to learn about the Middle East, tech, real estate, and religion. So I attend events that are focused on those things. And when I attend those events, I win all the way around because I'm attending an event that I'm interested in. I'm building a community, a network in the fields that I'm interested in. And if I were to meet a man there, chances are there's a higher possibility that they will have similar life goals to me. The next action I'm taking is that I'm practicing self awareness in my parenting. I envision a future for myself where I have more children than just one, maybe 2, 3, 4, I don't know. But now that I have just one, it means that I can dedicate a lot of time to learning from my mistakes as a parent, practicing self awareness by listening to my child and amending myself so that I can better support my child. The next thing that I'm doing is practicing the prioritization of self-care. This means that I'm developing my protocols, my self-protocols, and especially the flexibility. Because like I said, I imagine there will be a time where, I have businesses, I have multiple children, I have a husband, and it will be very important for me to have already a rooted practice, a rooted protocol, so that I don't stop filling my cup when I have more responsibilities. And the last thing that I'm doing is I'm exploring religion. I like religion. I'm a religious person. However, I was born Catholic and I don't personally believe in the Trinity. So I'm exploring religions that don't involve the Trinity. And the idea is that I feel like the mother is very influential in establishing spirituality in the home. So I want to have a rooted practice myself so that I can influence my family in a way that feels in alignment. And that's all that I have for the things that I'm doing to invite romantic love into my life. Let me know, is there anything that you guys are doing to invite love into your life? I know this can be kind of a frustrating journey, but all we can do is focus on the things that we have control of, which is ourselves. So I feel that it's a great time to do that deep inner work in order to be in order to be someone who will attract the perfect mate for ourselves and for our lives. Anyway, see you guys in the next video. Take it easy. Bye.